Evening. It is Thursday, December 19th, 2024. Welcome to the OPPD Board of Directors meeting. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in person today are my fellow board members, Amanda Bogner, Mike Kavanaugh, Matt Core, Sarah Howard, Janice Molhoff, Craig Moody, and Mary Spurgeon. We also have President and CEO Javier Fernandez, Steve Bruckner, our General Counsel with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts are also participating in today's meeting in person and via WebEx. Additionally, we currently have 5 members of the public attending in person and about 22 attendees on WebEx, which consists of OPPD employees and members of the public. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I will now ask a member of OPPD's physical security team to provide the safety briefing for our location and for Javier Fernandez to provide other safety reminders.
A little bit about safety. As usual, we have emergency exits on either side of the room. If we had to exit the building, we use those to go outside in the case of any type of evacuation. In the event of severe weather, we'd use the stairwell to go down into the parking area where we would take shelter. If anybody needs any assistance during the meeting, we do have first aid AED materials available to us. There's also fire suppression materials right there at the same exits. I always caution everyone to watch your step and be conscious of any trips or falls. Also watch the weather. Although it was 50 degrees today earlier, it's now getting really cold, windy, and potentially could get worse. You never know. So always be cautious of that. And with that, if anybody needs any assistance, again, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of the OPPD staff members. And I hope that you have a good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Can we go to the next slide, please? As I mentioned on Tuesday, psychological safety and a good working environment, trusting environment is important when we make decisions. Decisions that the board is going to consider today are included in these. So a foundational element of this is trusting that we have good intentions, that we're coming at the same problem from different perspectives, really contributing our experiences, our skills. It's really what makes us better as a society. And I think in these cases, this is something that we apply at OPPD, at these element of trust, so that we can make the right decisions and have a good psychologically safe environment. So on the cybersecurity front, just another reminder, it's this holiday season when we let our guard down, we're tired, some of us are gonna take some time off, and you're clicking on emails, you're probably shopping online. Be careful of this is when the bad actors are most active. Next slide, please. The safety focus for December, situational awareness, very important for all of us, and this is something that we remind our OPPD employees before they begin any job, especially out in the field, is to have situational awareness. Whereas the ability to perceive, understand, and effectively respond to one situation, gather as much information as you can before you start the job, before you go into a public place. I mentioned on Tuesday, this is when you're out and about and you go to a restaurant, you go to a public place. Take a couple of seconds, scan your environment. Where are the nearest exits, emergency exits? What would you do in case of an emergency? Having that situational awareness is important, and it's a good reminder for the month of December. Field ergonomics, something that we apply at OPPD across the company. It's having the right position, the right work environment can reduce discomfort, fatigue, and injury. We've talked about on our safety program how thankfully we have moved from serious injuries, we've moved a lot to soft tissue injuries at work. There's a way for us to prevent that even further, and that's by having a good ergonomic assessment, good position, warming up before our employees begin some of their work. And the last one is just a reminder, and Josh talked about the driving home. Holiday season brings a lot of joy, but it also brings a lot of hazards. Be careful with the road. We experienced that last week on Friday with the ice on the roads. These things turn quickly on us. Sometimes our weather forecasters can predict them really well. Sometimes they come to us without warning. So it's just a good reminder of be prepared for those hazards. That concludes my safety briefing.
Thanks very much. Now let's run through the guidelines for the conduct of this meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on OPPD.com. This meeting is being conducted in person with WebEx conferencing and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are part of the official public record. After the introduction of action items, board members will ask clarifying questions from staff, and then I will ask for public comment. After public comment, the board will conduct its discussion of the matter and then vote. Also, before we adjourn, there will be an opportunity to comment on other matters of district business. We will take comments in the room first and then via WebEx. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone in the center of the room. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer that is in the room. Ms. Lane will signal when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please deliver them to Ms. Lane. For WebEx attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please send the meeting host a message using the chat feature or utilize the hand raise feature. Detailed instructions can be found on the OPPD website at the link shown on the screen. When I call on a member of the public to speak, please affirm that we can hear you before commencing your comments. Please state your name, address, and the name of any person or organization you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer on screen and signal when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please email them to corporatesecretary@oppd.com, and they will be received on our behalf. For all attendees, please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another member of the board or officer of the district. The board values and welcomes civil, respectful, clear, and concise communication from the public. During public comments, speakers should refrain from repetitious, profane, or irrelevant comments. Speakers shall refrain from polling the board, as such vote is not on the agenda and is prohibited by law. Ms. Lane, will you please take the roll call?
Director Bogner? Here. Director Kavanaugh?
Here.
Director Core?
Here.
Director Howard?
Here.
Director Mulhall?
Here.
Director Moody?
Here.
Director Spurgeon?
Here.
Director Williams?
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing same in the Omaha World Herald, OPPD Outlets newsletter, oppd.com, and social media, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on December 13, 2024. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on oppd.com and in the meeting room. The consent agenda action items are as follows. Item 6, approval of the October 2024 financial report, November 2024 meeting minutes, and the December 19, 2024 agenda. Item 7, SD8, employee relations monitoring report, resolution number 6675. Item 8, sale of a portion of property located at the southwest corner of 168th Street and Ida Street, Douglas County, Nebraska, resolution number 6676. Item 9, acquisition of property rights for utility operations infrastructure projects, resolution number 6677. Item 10, correction of resolution number 6660 and ratification of actions for the Q Street transmission and distribution repositioning project widening Q Street from 192nd to 204th Street, resolution number 6678. Item 11, NCS coal handling upgrade, materials contract request to negotiate, resolution number 6679. NO and NCS 316B traveling screens, installation contracts request to negotiate, resolution 6680. Item 13, RFP number 6166, 345 kV shunt reactor, resolution 6681. Item 14, declaration of anticipated 2025 capital expenditures reimbursement, resolution number 6682.
Thank you. If there are no corrections, changes, or additions to consent agenda items, I need a motion and a second to approve these items.
So move.
Second.
We discussed these items at the all-committee meeting on Tuesday, December 17th. Do any members of the public in the room have comments on the consent agenda items? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium. Seeing none, do any members of the public on WebEx have a comment on the consent agenda items? Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Thank you. Seeing no comments, please take the roll call.
Director Bogner?
Yes.
Director Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Director Core?
Yes.
Director Howard?
Yes.
Director Mulhall?
Yes.
Director Moody?
Yes.
Director Spurgeon?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. The first board discussion action item is the 2025 Final Corporate Operating Plan, Resolution number 6683. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District as follows. The 2025 Corporate Operating Plan for the Omaha Public Power District is hereby approved and the board ratifies the plan described in this resolution to utilize funds from the district's rate stabilization reserve account and to replenish these funds during 2025. The rate changes described in Exhibit A and as set forth in the OPPD rate schedules attached in Exhibit B are hereby approved effective January 1, 2025. As described in Exhibit B, the following district rate schedules and riders are repealed effective January 1, 2025. Riders Schedule 480 Residential Surge Guard, Rider Schedule 481 Commercial Surge Guard, Rider Schedule 490 Economic Development, and Rider Schedule 499 Green Sponsorship GSP. As described in Exhibit B, the following curtailable rider schedules are closed to new customers, and the automatic renewal feature is repealed and will be administered as a program effective January 1, 2025. Rider Schedule 467, Rider Schedule 467H, Rider Schedule 467E, Rider Schedules 467B, and Rider Schedule 467L. As described in Exhibit B, the revisions to the following rate schedules and riders are hereby approved. Rate Schedule 236, dusk to dawn lighting, and Rate Schedule Rider 470I, tenant attachment fee, and to harmonize provisions as revised and repealed, the revisions to district service regulations set forth on Exhibit B are hereby approved.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the final corporate operating plan?
We have a motion. I move that resolution 6683 be adopted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Great.
Well, let me provide a bit of context for this. It's kind of a momentous thing for people on this board. When I came to this office, we were in the midst of a 5-year with no rate increase. And as our CEO has mentioned a couple of times, that 5 years of no rate increase has really set the stage for us today. We use that time to pay down our debt and to really solidify the financial underpinnings of OPPD. I would like the listeners, all of whom are our customers, to step into the shoes of a customer owner. You are the stakeholders in this entity that is responsible for supplying electricity to you. If one owns a house or a car, one expects that parts will wear out and need to be replaced. If a family grows so large that the house no longer serves the family well, then expansions have to be made, investments have to be made to build on. Owners know that the need for bigger expenditures are to be expected from time to time. They also recognize that failing to care for what they have can shorten its useful life and result in more costs over the long run. So just to remind you, this is a publicly owned business. No money is paid to shareholders. Any money that's left over at the end of the year goes right back into the business to make it better, to make it stronger, and to better serve our stakeholders, which are our customers. So that's the second thing I want to remind you. Third, as you drive through the city, and especially at rush hour, it seems, you cannot help be reminded that there is progress happening in our communities, in Douglas County and Sarpy County particularly, but I think also in our rural areas and smaller towns. All of that is connected, generally speaking, with a need for electricity. So that need is growing and growing and growing. I've heard it said that maybe it hasn't been this much demand on the system since it first started. When was that, in the 1940s, like that? So that puts great stresses on our current system. And our current system is elderly. People are working so hard in this district to make sure that it keeps up, that it lives to its expected life, which 50 years, I guess, but we're getting close to that. So part of that figures in to the corporate operating plan for this next year. I think that's essentially what I want to note. We will, if we fail to make the needed repairs and improvements and hardening of the infrastructure, we're going to imperil our reliability. And I've heard people say, oh, I don't care about reliability. It doesn't matter to me. I think there are people who are older, who are less well, for whom it matters a lot. And we are by law required to care about reliability in an enormous way. If you do not want your electricity to be reliable, there are places you can move to in the world, well, that they will have 6 hours of electricity a day. They just don't know when it's going to be. We want not to be in that position at all. So should you want less reliable electricity, that's up to you to do that in your home. But we're going to do our best to serve everybody who asks us in the best way that we know. So that's behind this corporate operating plan for 2025. So I'll invite comments or reflections from other members of the board. Questions?
Yeah, we'll start with any clarifying questions from staff on anything in the corporate operating plan. So, do you have any clarifying questions? Yeah, Director Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Javier, my constituents brought up a couple of questions they wanted me to ask. First one dealt with storm restoration. I think the cost that we face there with the unrecoverable costs there, and I think you've addressed that previously. But the other two issues were the impact, if we could put a dollar amount on it or a percentage of the rate increase, if you could, if that's even possible, pertaining to the increase in the reserve margin, and then also the impact of the outbreak of data centers that are popping up all around the district. Is there a way to put a dollar amount on those? Is that possible?
It is. I'm going to phone a friend here. I'm going to ask our CFO, Jeff Bishop, if you can come help me with these. I know some of these by memory, but he has much better memory and much better access to numbers. Generally speaking, and I'm going to speak in averages here. So the average rate increase of 6.3%, just the average. Of that 6.3%, 1.4% of that is to pay for expenses that occurred in 2024, including all the storm restoration, the storm restoration expenses that were not reimbursable by FEMA. All the additional expenses that we incurred during Winter Storm Jerry, when, if you remember well, the Missouri River froze up and we had to shut down generation. There was a lot more expenses to bring the generation back online. Our North Omaha station and Nebraska City stations were both out for almost a week, so there was those additional expenditures. We've been able to ride through the year by using reserves. That's one of the reasons why we have reserves. We have a rate stabilization account that helped us offset those costs during the year. That way we didn't have to, and we never done these, come back in the middle of the year and do a rate adjustment, right? Stability and predictability are very important for our customer owners, and that's one of the reasons why we have those reserves that help us float those expenses. However, at the end of the year, we have to replenish those reserves. It's important to have those reserves because, as we know, these things may and will continue to happen in the future. So that's part of it. I'm going to ask Jeff to respond to the plan reserve margin from SPP. I will tell you from a cost causation and cost allocation perspective, a question that I've also received a few times. It's, hey, how is it that these new data centers coming in, these new industrial load, are they paying their fair share? And I will tell you today categorically, the answer is yes. We go through a very robust cost of service discussion, modeling, different systems come together. We need to make sure that we have good functionalization and allocation of costs. Whichever customer class that causes a specific expense, they have to pay for that. And we have to demonstrate that, and we have an independent company, the Brattle Group, who provides a letter of assuring the board that we're following industry practices, that is exactly what we're doing. The rate increases are different for different customer categories because the type of investments that we're making or necessary this year are different. But something that is very, very important to clarify is that each customer class, commercial, residential, industrial, are paying their own share of the costs that are allocated to them and caused by them. Jeff, I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that and then cover the plan reserve margin.
Thank you, Javier. No, I think I wouldn't add anything in addition to what you'd said there relative to the planning reserve margin. We've spoke with the board at length about how that's continued to change over the course of time. As we look at the system as SPP, who stipulates the planning reserve margin for us, we've seen that continue to increase as we've continued to experience, and SPP's experienced different issues with reliability. As we've looked at that over the course of time, the requirements have increased from 15% to 36%, so a 21% increase in our plan and reserve margin. What that means is, at any point in time, we've got to make sure we've got not only 15, it'll go up to 36% above our peak load. That's what we've got to have available to serve our customers. And so that's been in the works. That continues to increase. That's utilized by all of our customers. So every customer and relative to the peak that they contribute to the system, we've got to make sure and ensure that we've got that available for them. As you look at our system and our system peak, if you were to calculate that out, that works out to roughly 500 megawatts if we go from 15 to 36%. That's almost the size of our Turtle Creek facility. And so as we think about that, again, those are the costs that we're continuing to bear as a utility. We're continuing to invest. We've been acquiring to deliver on that over the course of time. That would be, I believe, the requirements by 26 that we've got that in place. And so as it relates to a single year impact, we don't quantify that, but I wanted to provide some context around what's driving that and then how that gets allocated across all of our customers as it relates to serving their contribution to our peak load.
And then again, as far as the data center increase impact, is there a way to put a dollar? Is it even possible to put a dollar figure on that as far as the impact it's having on all the ratepayers?
You know, in terms of how we look at that and the impacts that has relative to our system, but then also how we would capture the costs associated with that. I think, Javier, you hit that well. We charge our customers based upon how they utilize our system. And so as we think about it, data centers in general are very efficient users of our system. We talked about load factor. We've gone through that in detail with the board. And as we think about how that relates to specifically their impact on the system, we utilize that when we do the cost of service. That process itself, we've brought in an independent consultant to review that, both the assumptions, the actuals that drive our results, plus what we're forecasting in the future. They also look at how we allocate those costs across all of our customer classes. So again, as we get to just incremental impacts associated with data centers, it's more difficult to land on that. I can assure you that they are paying for all of the costs that they're placing upon the system. We talked a little bit on Tuesday about specifically the revenue contributions that we're seeing relative to industrials, and a good portion of that's associated with data centers. 68% of our increase in revenues are associated with data centers. So again, as we think about what costs are being put on the system, I can assure you that they are more than covering their costs that they place upon the utility.
Thank you.
Are there other technical or clarified questions from staff at this time?
I'll ask just one. Jeff, we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, but I would appreciate a brief summary. Could you talk a little bit about budget process? And what I'm zeroing in on is, we've got a lot of work underway. We're building new things, we're growing. I want to make sure that we and the public understand where kind of the budget started when we first went through the process and you did your initial, okay, this is what the numbers are, and then the process that we went through to get it to where it is today, the belt tightening, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Director Moody. We start the process in the March timeframe, pulling together all of the critical inputs to our plan, load growth, power costs, and then we go out and we work with the organization to figure out what do they need to deliver on the strategic directives that have been laid out by the board? What do they need to ensure we advance the utility and keep the lights on as well? And so we really focus in on our core work plus our enterprise priorities. In the process of pulling that together, looking at the June timeframe, we got our first look at specifically what the total impact would be if we were to push those items through rates. At that time, it would be a 13% increase in rates. The capital budget is 1.1 billion, roughly 150 headcount that were being requested. And again, that's down from what we've had in prior years. Again, really trying to push on the organization to operate as lean as possible, but still making sure that we can keep the lights on, focus on reliability, meet our regulatory obligations. We knew that wasn't sustainable. Ultimately, went back, did some additional work to figure out ways in which we could continue to reduce our costs. Ultimately, took that down to 10% in July, still recognizing that that was going to be a challenge. Went back and made additional cuts. Again, going from 150 headcount down to 62, taking our capital budget from 1.1 billion down to 788 million. So some substantial impacts to the organization. That didn't come without consequence and a lot of difficult decisions that need to be made. We've taken out publicly a number of strategic initiatives to really advance the organization. A number of those we had to prioritize and say, still great projects, but ultimately we're not going to be able to do those right now. And so those have been deferred. And there's a number, again, to get us down to that level, the 788, some fairly significant projects we've been planning for a good period of time associated with our facilities, really making sure that we've got up-to-date and modern facilities for our employees, for our customers. And again, those pieces, we ultimately made the decision they'll still likely happen in the future, but need to be deferred. We can't move forward with those in this plan.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional clarification? Do any members, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll receive public comments. Do any members of the public in the room have a comment on this action item? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium in the center.
David Begley, 4611 South 96th Street. Well, I hope in that belt tightening, I hope you eliminated your DEI staff. That's a total waste of money. So I have a quote from the great David Mamet. Our politicians, both left and right, are to belabor the metaphor. The wastrel sown, they are free to spend, chase fantasies, and to squander resources. For the resources are not theirs, and there is no penalty for their misuse or loss. So I looked at your corporate operating plan, and I see your generation component. Was this 5 million megawatts? Whatever it is, whatever the unit is, purchase power agreements, and then generation is 10.2 million. So the way I interpret this is what you generate at Nebraska City elsewhere, and then this 5.3 is your purchase power agreements, 5.3 million. So that's NextEra and Blue Stem Energy. And I'll tell you, and I'll pick up on Director Spurgeon's comment, yes, this is a public entity without a profit motive. And what you have done with these purchase power agreements is outsourced your duty and abdicated it to these private companies to generate your own power. And the upshot of that is, well, I'll tell you about a Nebraska Court of Appeals case called Heinrich versus Blue Stem Energy. And like all good lawyers, and I know Steve Bruckner and Trey Meyerson, we read the advance sheets every single week. And in this case, I found out that Blue Stem Energy, a 10% equity interest, was worth $6 million. And the income numbers weren't in there. But so this is a company that you do business with, and it's got at least $100 million value. That is equity and income that should be reserved here. I mean, you should be generating the power. You should be building the nat gas plants instead of outsourcing it to these tax credit organizations and, you know, these PPA people like NextEra. So that's a super big problem. And then Director Spurgeon
30
mentioned
seconds.
about reliability. And I'm looking at your plan and it says high availability, diverse generation. Well, I'm going to run out of time here, but solar and wind are not reliable. It's not dispatchable. And that's a giant issue for you. And that's why you have to overbuild. And this organization, your rates could be a whole lot lower if you were doing what you're required to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there other comments in the room? Seeing none, do we have comments online for the corporate operating plan? No comments online? Okay. Do other directors have comments they would like to share about the corporate operating plan? Director Bugner.
Thank you very much. I want to begin by commending the district and its dedicated team for developing a comprehensive 2025 corporate operating plan. This plan is a testament to the district's commitment to aligning its operations with the strategic directives set forth by this board. Notably, the proposed investments in advanced metering technology and resilience programs stand out to me as forward-thinking initiatives that will position OPPD as a leader in grid reliability and customer service. These are critical investments that ensure our systems remain among the most resilient in the country, capable of adapting to evolving energy demands and challenges. It's important to acknowledge that OPPD has consistently delivered some of the lowest rates when compared to both national and local peers. This is a remarkable achievement and a testament to the district's prudent management and commitment to affordability. However, the proposed 8.4% rate increase for residential customers in a single year is simply too much to ask. While I understand that financial pressures and operational needs outlined in the plan, such a substantial increase in 1 year places a significant burden on our community members, our customer owners, many of whom are navigating challenging economic circumstances. After careful consideration, I will not be supporting this resolution. This decision does not reflect my lack of confidence in the overall corporate operating plan or the dedicated team that went into it, that worked on its development. Instead, it underscores my belief that we must remain steadfast in our commitment to affordability while pursuing our operational and strategic excellence. Thank you.
Do other directors have comments about the corporate operating plan they'd like to share? Director Kavanaugh?
Yes, first off, Seth, I appreciate the effort that's taken place to keep this rate increase as reasonable as possible. It's never easy to raise rates. I understand that. I also want to point out that a lot of people forget OPPD and the MUD are two of the very few government bodies in the metro area that doesn't have the luxury. I guess you call it a luxury. We don't have it to have the ability to increase our revenue through property taxes when your home value goes up, and they can look you in the eye and say, I didn't raise your taxes. Your home value went up. But obviously, we don't have that luxury. If our healthcare cost goes up, if our fuel purchase costs goes up, every expenses any other organization has as well, we obviously have to increase our revenue or increase our rates. And I understand the need to do this. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I hate raising rates, but it's something that it goes with the territory. And I would hope if any directors want to vote no on this, that they have an alternative solution to what we can do, what we face. But that's all I have.
Thank you. Additional comments? Director Moloff?
Belt tightening is hard. This organization is good at that. For 5 years, we tightened our belts. We did what we had to do to do no rate increases for those 5 years. One thing that, as we tighten our belts, one thing that we do not cut back on is our assistance programs to low and moderate income families. And we understand that it's difficult when your bills go up, but we also have programs that aren't being fully utilized, where low and moderate income families can take advantage of assistance programs, weatherization, ways to decrease their bills and still stay comfortable. So one of the things that OPP does that we do not cut back on are our assistance programs and our commitment to low and moderate income families that will be there for you when you need us. So that's my take. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments?
Yeah, I'll hop in quick. I think this is, for me, really simple. That the organization is transforming in so many different ways, and that comes at a cost. You know, you made the home analogy earlier. If I were completely gutting my home and putting in a new HVAC system and an entirely new you know, technology systems so that I could run the house through my phone, like all that's going to cost money. And for me, this is an investment in our utility. And the way that works for us is we have to ask our ratepayers to help us invest in our utility. It was really instructive for me when Jeff, the team, walked me through as a non-finance member through kind of the arc of the budget process, and for the utility to at first be at a place where we were thinking around a 13% rate increase. That's the average rate across the board. That's not the residential rate, by the way. The residential rate was much higher than that. For us to have that means that we've deferred a lot of the things that we probably should be doing to invest in the utility. So I think we're striking the right balance. I think we're striking a balance between what really needs to be done in order to invest in this utility of the future, while acknowledging that it's going to impact people. And that's just the reality of it. And we need to accept that that's the case. None of us get excited about that. But I think we've struck the right balance between the right level of investment versus the deferral of some of those important strategies. So I'm pretty comfortable with the corporate operating plan, and I appreciate all the work that's gone into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
If I could piggyback a little bit on Director Mulhoff's comments. I moved to the metropolitan area in 1988. I took a pay cut to come here because I thought there was additional opportunity. I was in penury at the time, paying off a pretty major bill, and I moved into an all-electric apartment. And when I learned they had a level payment plan, I signed up, and I have not unsigned for years. This is one of those plans that the district has had for years. And you know, people are like, oh, I don't know. I want to know what I'm going to have to pay every month. Well, that's what the level payment plan does. And it can decrease an individual ratepayer's anxiety considerably. There are other programs out there. And I you know, just take it like a motherly comment, and you do with whatever you want to do with motherly comments. But I would certainly encourage all of our ratepayers to do that. I think there is no one at any income who wouldn't find that valuable if they're budgeting. So, yeah, I will just say I've lost a little sleep. I've been concerned because I know very well how this is going to impact people. And what was the percentage given at one point? 40%. 40% of people fall into that low or middle income where they really are impacted by this. Shall we go back to history a little bit? When public power came into being and they did these rate classes, because I know there's rate jealousy. Why do I have to pay you know, a residential rate when another class is paying so much less. That was back there when one wage earner could support a family. Now, it was a male. They made a lot of money, more than most women still do today, but that was one. So things have changed a little bit here. And OPPD is still working in the environment when public power came into being, and as is everybody else. So maybe it's time for us to have a low income rate for people who simply don't have enough money to make it from one part of the month, first part to the last part of the month. Or maybe it's time for people to say, well, golly, how did that happen? I wonder how that came to be. That is way outside of OPPD's purview to sort through, but it's a good question and invites some research. I as I look at the transformation of electric utilities across the country, I said to a cousin who has a husband who's on Montana legislature, who'd gone to a public utility meeting somewhere in Virginia sometime last year, and she said, well, he came back and, you know, it's a real problem. How do we solve this? And I said, well, I think we're going to have to learn to share. And when we look at SPP, when we look at all the other districts across, that's really what we're talking about, is sharing when there's a need. And for us as individuals in a community where we know there are people where use of food pantries has only gone up and up and up and up, including during the period when OPPD had a 5-year rate with no increases, there's got to be a problem somewhere else here. So I do not think it's in OPPD's lap. We get to cope with it. We get to cope with it as individuals, as conscionable people, and deal with it the best we can. But we are indeed in a time of transformation. And, you know, business units got the word. We'd love to help you, but not this year. We can't do it this year. But of course, we know it's important. So I do think this is an appropriate solution for this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Director Core.
I just want to echo some of the things that were said, and I appreciate all the time that OPPD staff put into working with us and the time spent on all of this. And in the last few weeks, I've tried to get comfortable with what the right thing to do is here, and maybe from a different perspective. The time is now to look at how we're doing things, and my lack of surety that we're doing the absolute right thing with this is where I can't get comfortable quite yet. So I do appreciate all the work that went in. I know there was a lot of diligence. I know there was a lot of belt tightening. You started here, came down to here, came down to here. I very much understand that, but I'm just not comfortably there yet to say yes to this.
Thank you. Hearing no other comments, I also shared several specific thoughts on Tuesday, and I'll try and summarize some of those now. The programs and projects that are listed to me are necessary and in the interest of our customer owners. This includes specifically another significant increase in vegetation management to reduce the risk of outages like we experienced several times this year. Capital investments to serve new load from new customers in all rate classes. And investments in assorted new technologies, including AMI, which I have expressed repeated support for. So I'm very glad to see that included and that moving forward to help us prepare for the future, as other directors have mentioned. I remained interested and focused on the impacts to our customers, most specifically the low and moderate income customers who have high energy burden because they have high energy use. As was discussed on Tuesday, efficiency and assistance programs will see expanded outreach, and I personally will be available to answer questions for constituents in my district and across the district, and I know other directors and staff will be as well. And I will be conducting outreach to make sure that people know about those programs because, as was highlighted, we have assistance available for people who need that to help reduce their energy burden, and it's not fully utilized. That's an area where we need to see improvement, and staff has indicated that they will be expanding their outreach to make sure that that is happening. I asked and staff provided verification that the COP has funded sufficiently the refueling and retirement of North Omaha Station as planned. So I appreciate that clarification. That is something that is specifically important to me. Several questions were received from the public and were discussed on Tuesday, and they mostly focused on the balance of costs between residential, commercial, and industrial classes. From the information that was provided publicly and included in the corporate operating plan and in numerous additional meetings with board members, I feel comfortable that our cost of service analysis does align the rate, the cost causers and the cost payers between the rate classes, and that we are not shifting costs from one class to another class. As has been discussed with SD2 on every year since I've been on the board, the rate changes that we have seen have been lower than have been seen at other peer utilities, and our costs have continued to fall farther and farther below the national averages for our customers in all classes. Looking forward, I do not expect a rate increase like this again in the future, nor would I support that. So with all of that in mind, I believe that this corporate operating plan is aligned with the interest of our customer owners. And I look forward to supporting it so that the utility can continue to make investments in the future. Hearing no other comments, roll call.
Director Bogner,
No.
Director Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Director Core,
No.
Director Howard,
No.
Director Mulhoff,
Yes.
Director Moody,
Yes.
Director Spurgeon,
Yes.
Director Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-3.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the president's report. I'm sorry. Next on the agenda is the resolution of appreciation. And I'll leave that to Erin. Please introduce that for us. Thank you.
The second board discussion action item is resolution of appreciation for Janice M. Mulhoff, resolution number 6684. Whereas Janice M. Mulhoff was elected to the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District for a 6-year term in 2018 as the Director of Subdivision 7 and has served with distinction and integrity. And whereas Ms. Mulhoff has demonstrated a unwavering commitment to the mission of OPPD to provide affordable, reliable, and environmentally sensitive energy services for the community, while advancing a strategic, forward-looking vision and fostering governance excellence. And whereas Ms. Mulhoff has served as Vice Chair and Secretary to the Board and on all the Board standing committees, including Customer and Public Engagement, Finance, Governance, and System Management Nuclear Oversight, providing exemplary leadership and guiding critical and collaborative decision-making with insight and vision. And whereas her leadership, collaborative spirit, and dedication have strengthened the board's efforts to navigate challenges, embrace opportunities, and uphold OPPD's vision for powering the future. And whereas Ms. Mulhoff has consistently prioritized the needs of the community, fostering transparency, accountability, and meaningful engagement to hear the viewpoints and values of customer owners and stakeholders. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors hereby expresses its profound gratitude and appreciation to Janice M. Mulhoff for her exemplary service, steadfast leadership, and significant contributions to the success and growth of OPPD. And be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the official records of the Omaha Public Power District and that a copy be presented to Janice M. Mulhoff as a token of the board's enduring respect and gratitude.
Do we have a motion?
We do. I move that we accept this resolution.
Second.
Thank you.
All right. I'm honored to have the privilege to tee up our discussion and recognize Janice for her 6 years of service on this board. In 2019, Janice, Eric, and I were onboarded together, and I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you over the years. You have served the district and your constituents with thoughtfulness, compassion, and a sense of curiosity. And these are traits I admire in you. Thank you for your service, leadership, and most importantly, your friendship. You will certainly be missed.
Thank you. Are there public comments? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You were quickly. Yes, we do have public comments.
Ann McGuire,
Thank you.
200 South 31st Ave, number 4600. I would like to also honor Janice and thank you for your service for the past 6 years and your dedication to the OPPD mission and the community. I've had the I've always admired your thoughtful questions when making decisions. She's never raised her voice very often, like I used to do. And she's always thought, and I recognize, she's always thought about that. And I think it's an important virtue that I wish I had sometimes, as far as not raising my voice all the time. I recognize the fact, Janice, that you're really not retiring. And in addition to family activities and your travels, you're also very active in the Ashland Rotary and the Women's Club. And does anyone know that she started as Hulk, as a superhero stirrup coronation, or is it stirrup coronation? I'm not quite sure, Janice. She's a very interesting woman. You also have the bird watching that has made me, when you started watching birds, I started watching birds. And it's been a nice little avocation for myself too. You're truly an Energizer bunny. And I want you to enjoy the added time with Wayne and the rest of your family, and also your passion for your community. Thank you so much for your service.
Are there additional comments from the public in the room? Are there comments online? Comments from directors. Director Kavanaugh.
And Janice kind of reminds me of the job you did, which is certainly a compliment. It's nice to have you back down here again with you. Janice, you hit the ground running right away when you first got on the board. You've been a very valuable member of this organization. Certainly have always appreciated your judgment and your professional, passionate compassion for doing your job, not only in the way you represent your district, but the entire OPPD organization. I know family calls, and but I know something tells me that you'll continue to be a very valuable contributor in your home community in the Ashland area. They're lucky to have you, and we're going to miss you. And I wish you well.
Director Mulhoff, two things come to mind for me. I'll echo what Director McGuire said about your curiosity. Your ability to ask exceptional questions is something that I aspire to. And it's such a good way to lead. I've just been impressed time and time again with how curious you are, the questions you ask. I think it's really exceptional. The other thing that comes to mind when I think about you, Director Mulhoff, is public service. Public service is difficult, and the general sentiment in the public when they view politicians is generally negative. But I contend that that's because they don't know people like you. You are an exceptional public servant. You've done a wonderful job. I have no doubt that you will continue to be a public servant, even in your retirement, if we call it that. And I'm just so grateful that we've been able to have you on the board for 6 years. So thank you and congratulations.
Janice, I've known you the shortest amount of time, I think, but everything that's been said so far has resounded with me, and I'll add that there's no mistake how much care and consideration you give to this, and I'm sure everything that you do in life. So thank you for that, and thanks for your commitment to service throughout your entire life.
Director Molhoff, we've known each other for many years, and even before we were elected together along with Amanda in 2018. I think as we transition from members of the public who are advocates for improvements in quality of life for people throughout the community, I think the very first thing that happened was that you invited me to coffee in Ashland. And I think that was kind of setting the expectations for the type of leader you would continue to be and would grow into as a member of the board of directors. Going last, I now have to follow and echo all of everything that everyone has said. But I would highlight that I really appreciate the leadership that you have demonstrated across the community throughout your career, and specifically within the board of directors. You have really exemplified what it means to be a public servant and make sure that our utility is living up to the best expectations of the public and helping to prepare for the future. So I wish you the very best moving forward. I hope you get to see lots of salmon and bear, as is on your mug, every month. Enjoy lots of travels and spend lots of time with your family. And again, thank you for everything you have done for OPPD and the community over your entire career.
Well, we have a little present for you. But before I go there, I want to reflect on a couple of things. It has been an honor to serve with you, to serve as a CEO and first as CFO with you. The first time I met Janice was after a board meeting, and I remember the passion she had, walking towards me and said, "Hey, I have an idea." And it's the same passion that you've showed throughout the 6 years that I've known you. That idea resulted in our entire service territory today being lit up by LED light on our street lights. As you drive home tonight, your path is going to be lit by those LED fixtures that were in great part there because you pushed. You had a great idea and you figure out a way to bring people together and make it work, make it happen. Your last year on the board, there is the largest solar array in Nebraska is standing today there in great part because it was a dream of yours. And you fought and fought and fought. And if what started as a great idea became a reality after a lot of really hard work, and you did a lot of these with staff, but you were very active in the community, playing a very, very important role. So to me, when, as others have said, your role here on the board is coming to an end, but as you drive around the service territory, your legacy is there, visible, palpable. And for that, really, I commend you, and I appreciate the candor that we've had, the advice that you've provided, and good. You've pushed me hard to become a better CEO and to get the organization where it is today. And with that, we have a little parting gift that will remind you of how important it is to have electricity and to have light at home. And don't worry that meter doesn't work. We're not gonna be metering your consumption with this one, but it's a good reminder of what we do here. I'm gonna read this. It's a residential electric meter circa 1920. So this is older than OPPD. It says Janice Molhoff, OPPD board member, 2018, 2024. Congratulations. It is a light. It's a lamp. Be careful with it. We can put it down here. Oh, I have one more. But we can hold this until the board votes on the resolution, but this is your frame resolution.
Thank you. I have some thanks. Thanks to my family. Wayne is here. And I start over. Thanks to Wayne and my daughters, Sarah and Ian. And they've had their own challenges in this past 6 years. To everyone who supported me in the campaign and who believed that I could do this board work and that we could all do this work together. To my fellow board members, thank you for your passion and your tireless efforts to enact thoughtful policies. To the ELT and CEO Fernandez for making sure that all questions were thoroughly answered. And to the OPPD employees who make this organization one of the best in the country. Javier challenged us the other day at the employee meeting to think about our legacy. And as he just said, In my first year in 2019, we passed the Power with Purpose and later the near-term generation, but those decisions led to the doubling of OPPD's capacity to serve and Platteview Solar. Some of my priorities when I came on the board were vegetation management. You all beefed up the budget for that. Also, hardening distribution to places like Ceresco and other end-of-line communities, and that has happened. Those LED streetlights that we all see now across town that saves the counties and the state thousands of dollars every year. Our net zero carbon goal that has the potential to have an impact on cleaner air and water. Yet to be done, so to my fellow board members, is the refueling of North Omaha to fulfill the promise to that community. And to continue to make this the best utility in the nation. Thank you all.
And with that, roll call.
Director Bogner?
Yes.
Director Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Director Core?
Yes.
Director Howard?
Yes.
Director Mulhall? Oh, can you vote for yourself? Director Moody?
Yes.
Director Spurgeon?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Very resounding and wholehearted yes. Thank you. Now, the next item on the agenda is the President's report. Javier Fernandez.
Thank you, Chair Williams. This time around, I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I want to just announce this. For sake of time, I'm going to present a couple of slides, and then I would like to show a video, a year in review of all the things that we've done. However, in the appendix uploaded online are the same statistics that I present month after month, just in case the public is interested. That information is still there. I'm not going to speak to it tonight. So I have two things to report before we go into the video. The first one is the Heat the Streets Run and Walk for Warmth event. Registration is open already. The event is on March 1st. Where OPPD and the Metropolitan Utilities District, again, as we always do, we will team up to raise money for energy assistance programs through this event. This will be the 18th annual event, which is OPPD's biggest energy assistance program fundraiser for the year. It will be at Exarban Village here in Omaha, Nebraska on March 1st. OPPD Board Chair Eric Williams and his partner Christine Hall, along with MUD Senior Vice President General Counsel Mark Mendenhall and his wife Bridget, are co-chairs for this event, this year. Thank you so much for doing this. You can register at hitthestreetsomaha.com. There is an early bird discount if you register before January 31st. So I'm looking forward to that event, and thank you in advance for chairing that. The next one, this gives me so much happiness and pride. OPPD was named #1. Not only top quartile, but #1 utility by J.D. Power in residential customer satisfaction. This is among 16 utilities in the Midwest mid-sized segment of electric utilities for 2024. Specifically, we won this award, this particular position in the categories of billing, payment, price, and communication. The J.D. Power U.S. Electric Utility Residential Customer Satisfaction Study surveys customers to measure residential customer satisfaction across 6 categories, which is power quality and reliability, price, billing and payment, communications, corporate citizenship, and customer care. We have ranked in this study before, but it's been since 2013. 2013 was the last time that we won first place. And we've been in the second place, 4th, 6th, 7th place in the past decade. It took us a decade to get back to that coveted #1 place. The competition is worthy. We were in a very competitive group. We beat out last year's winner, Wisconsin Public Service, and our sister utility to the West Lincoln Electric Service, all very worthy competitors. And I'm super, super proud of what the company was able to do by achieving this #1 spot. That doesn't mean that we will stop trying or doing anything. This means that we now have even more incentive to keep pushing and working hard to meet the expectations and needs for our customer owners. And with that, I'm going to pause talking here for a little bit. We're going to have the 2024 video. It's about 4 minutes, and that will conclude my president's report. So with Okay, it's Sunday, August 4th. It's not even 7 in the morning. I'm here at the Baxter Arena with our mutual aid crews. It is inspiring to see so many people, so many utilities. I have a truck here from MPPD, Loop Power, Southern Company, ComEd, Mid-American. We have 1,300 boots on the ground. Hi, I'm here with Steve Westling at the North Omaha Station in our control room. While everybody's outside gathering to celebrate 70 years of continuous operations of the North Omaha Station, someone has to be here operating the units. How many units do we have online right now?
5 units.
All 5 units are online, including North Omaha Unit 1, 70 plus years of continuous operation.
Yep. 40 megawatts right now.
Thanks very much. I would just echo that this has been an intense year in all aspects, from the meeting the challenges of significant growth to responding to the numerous storms and the flooding, historic expansion of renewable energy resources, preparing for the future and making those investments. I just want to say thank you to CEO Fernandez, your entire leadership team, to all of the employees at OPPD and contractors, everyone who has supported the utility, to my fellow board members. Thank you all for all of your dedicated work. And I think that your President's report tonight is an apt summary and reminding us of what we all know. The J.D. Power ranking verifies what we have often discussed, that OPPD is serving our customer owners and improving lives in our community. So thank you and congratulations on another very challenging, very successful year. I appreciate the summary and everything everyone has done throughout this year and preparing for the future. The last item on our agenda tonight is opportunity for comment on other items of district business. Are there any comments in the room?
David Bagley, 4611 South 96th Street. I don't have any book gifts for you tonight. I was thinking about getting you 1984 by George Orwell, but I'll think about that for next year. I didn't know Marcus Aurelius's Meditations would be talked about in Gladiator 2, but it was. So I heard a lot of rationalizations by the 5 people who voted for that rate increase. And I'll tell you that the source of it is you're outsourcing with those PPAs and all that profit that you're giving away to those people. I don't know exactly what you're paying next there for Milligan, but I'm telling you, because I told you, it's been studied, and the reason why rates go up is because there's too much solar and wind in the grid and it's unreliable. I mean, it's blindingly obvious to me. And then I want to comment, I saw Director Core and Director Williamson in Cass County, and, you know, those citizens made excellent points. And people do not want this solar and wind in Nebraska. They do not want it. And you're in a real jam if you think these projects are going to be built, because I don't think a lot of them are. And, you know, your Michaela Valentine spoke to the Cass County Board, and Matt Jones spoke. He says, oh, so the solar is reliable. And, you know, that is just absolutely incorrect, which brings me to the book 1984 by George Orwell. And the government at that time said 2 + 2 = 5, and people believed it. And it's the same thing with solar and wind are reliable. And that's how the greatest scam in the history of the world, catastrophic man-made global warming, gets pushed out there. So, I mean, you know, when Michaela said that, man, her credibility goes to zero. Well, anyway, I think Nebraska, we can be the data center capital of the world, or at least of America. And I see, I keep up on this, Louisiana, $12 billion in data center investment. They have 1 gigawatt of reliable power. Amazon to invest 10 billion.
30 seconds.
10 billion in Ohio. So we get a little measly billion from Google, and really thanks to Senator Ricketts. And Javier, you knew about that. And, you know, we are falling behind. We have this gigantic business opportunity. You don't have a profit motive. I mean, we could generate, OPPD could be the source of a whole lot of jobs if you built your own generation and you
That's
attack
time.
the data center business. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Are there other public comments in the room? Seeing none, do we have public comments online?
David Corbin.
David, are you there? Excuse me.
I am.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, representing Nebraska Sierra Club. First, I want to thank Janice Mohoff for all that she's done. And I know that she will likely continue to be involved in other civic endeavors, which I have seen her involvement personally. To follow up on her and other directors' comments on helping low-income people, I will once again urge that OPPD ramps up their outreach to city organizations, businesses to maximize communication about rebate and incentive programs so that funding for assistance programs will reach the targeted audiences. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments online?
John Pollock.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. Also, thank you to Janice Mohoff for her service, and I know we'll be hearing from her in the future, too. I'm just going to talk about the weather a little bit tonight. We have, going into Christmas, a probably above average travel outlook for the general area. The only area that I really see affected by winter weather is the upper Midwest, North Dakota, Minnesota, over toward the Great Lakes. They've got a fast-moving storm system that's going through now. So the people in the room, unless you're heading out on a plane tonight, it'll be past. Of course, it's going to be cold for a couple of days. In fact, the temperature dropped from 57 this afternoon. It'll be in the low 20s when you leave the room with the wind behind it. That's our brief push of Arctic air. The rest of the month, in fact, looks like once our temperatures recover later in the weekend, we're going to be above normal for this time of year. Essentially, the Arctic air that's in northern Canada is going to be exiting toward the east rather than getting dumped down into the upper Midwest in a pattern that persists through the end of the month. We do have a chance of precipitation after Christmas. That actually looks like it's more likely to be rain than anything else. So we do have a chance of rain, possibly a little bit of snow, but that would be after Christmas. The outlook for January is less certain. By that point, our cold air will be building back up in Canada. January is, on the average, the coldest month around here. And certainly in recent years, we've been having our strongest cold outbreaks of the winter in January and into the first half of February. We've got a weak La Nina pattern that doesn't give us much temperature guidance. So as usual, we'll just have to be on the alert for that stuff, but enjoy the rest of 2024. It's looking
30
above
seconds.
average for this time of year. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments online? Great. Hearing none, it sounds like we probably won't have a white Christmas, but all the same, everyone stay safe and healthy and happy. Happy holidays to you all, and see you next year. We're adjourned.